I'm the co-host, and I'm with...
David Creed, your host.
And welcome, everyone, to the True Blood Transfusion. It's the Fangbanger Podcast.com's video-only fan feedback and True Blood news segment, where we go through all the feedback that we get after we record each week the new episode of the Fangbanger Podcast review of True Blood. We just finished out episode number 8's review. Was the... I forgot the name of it. What's the name of that?
Spellbound.
Spellbound. And I was... In fact, I'm spellbound now. There's snow dropping from everywhere.
There's no snow, Mike.
Oh, okay.
You're
Sorry
right.
about that. Okay. Let's get straight to fan feedback today. The first piece comes from Deidre in Mequon, Wisconsin. Deidre, hello. You're also near my old stomping grounds there in Brookfield. It's great to hear from you here at the Fangbanger Podcast. Deidre writes, what the Fangbanger happened to Lafayette's hair inside of the 8th episode? I mean, really. To have someone that's been so stridently attentive to how they look, to what they look like, this is beyond belief. Come on, True Blood. Make him ghetto hipster already, but what is up with the hair?
Yeah. Well,
I think the hair grew in one episode. Maybe there was a series of weeks or something.
It's entirely possible that the actor has decided that he needs long hair for something else that he's doing, and they're trying to do whatever they can with it.
There's no way that's real hair.
I'm not entirely certain what
There's no way that's real hair. If that's real hair, I'll grow my hair to kid and play, or not kid and play, crisscross hair, just like they have.
Crisscross.
That is not real hair. There's no way.
I
We're
don't
going to
know
have
what
to
they're
use our mysterious context to find out whether or not that's real hair, but I'm going to go no for the real crisscross hair.
I don't know what they're doing with it, quite frankly, but I wish they would stop.
I also wish that they would stop. Deidre, I think you have two other fans here, two guys talking, that wish there would be something different in regard to hair on Lafayette's head. So we agree. What the Fangbanger on that.
Yeah.
Great piece of feedback. Thanks so much. Two guys talking news. I was cartooning this last weekend for a company in Dubai, making a new mascot for them. And I got a phone call that followed me for the next 2 hours. It was a great phone call with a guy named Sean O'Donnell. Sean O'Donnell is the guy in charge of and leading the Galactica. I want to make sure I've got the right title for him. Boy, this is thrilling, Mike. Thanks for doing this. The BattlestarFanclub.com effort. And the reason I've forgotten about that is because it's the least important part of what we had talked about during the phone call. The bottom line about the phone call is that Sean is an old school fan that has migrated much of the fan push out of just being a fan into something that makes money. And that all hits really, really home really hard for me, because you always want to find something where you can be able to monetize your passions. The reason I mentioned cartooning is because that's monetizing one of my passions. I love to cartoon, but without the availability and effort to push it to somebody and make money on, kind of drops off the radar. Well, I've been able to do that, in particular with Facebook. And so what we essentially talked about was this series, this next convention that they're going to have. It's going to be celebrating the 35th anniversary of Battlestar Galactica. Can you believe it's been that long?
Makes me feel very, very old.
Yeah, but that's coming up in 2013, and it's going to be astounding. What we also talked about, though, was the fan experience and the other people inside of fandom that make it a positive or a negative experience. We talked about everything from my original love of the original Battlestar Galactica, which is where I think my foundational science fiction fandom came from. I don't know, did you follow the original?
Yeah, absolutely. But I was lucky enough to have lived in my grandmother's household, where my aunts and uncles, most of them were still teenagers and living there. So I had sort of older brothers and sisters, and one of them, my Uncle Stephen, was a huge science fiction fantasy buff. He played role-playing games before I even knew what a role-playing game was in the 70s. And he introduced me to a lot of science fiction very early on.
Yeah.
Like I was introduced to Star Trek from as far back as I can remember, because he was always watching it at home. So when Battlestar Galactica came out, it was sort of my first thing.
Right.
And I glommed onto it immediately.
Yeah. Star Trek hit me really, really hard. As soon as the Next Generation came out, I was absolutely hooked on Star Trek. And so we bantered on and on about the different people that we know inside of the different fan organizations. But the most important part of what we talked about is that Sean is also another person that understands that business inside of fandom is also a viable entity that can make not only select people money, but a lot of people that touch those people money and a great fan experience. And I don't know many of those people. I know lots of people that require there to be fandom on top, and that's all great until the money runs out.
Absolutely.
You have to remember that there has to be a business segment inside of fandom as well. So again, not to bore all of you with that, but the gist of fandom and business being on the same level, it can happen, and it does happen thanks to people like Sean O'Donnell inside of the Battlestar Fanclub.com effort. A couple other things that we talked about, and the reason why we're including it here, are that not only were we kindred fan spirits, but he also lives down the street from a particular bar that's used as the set of Fantasia.
Nice.
How cool is that? Did you guys know that it was an operating bar that you can walk into and order food from? And then, of course, the film crew arrives, masquerades it as Fantasia. And so Sean talked about getting us some pictures from inside and some other really cool fan-based opportunities thanks to a guy that really gets fandom and business, Sean O'Donnell. And I want you to go to BattlestarFanClub.com. Quick sign up for a membership there. It doesn't cost anything, but the fandom experience via that website is incredibly robust. Lots of things for fans to do, and a great person to tether yourself to, Sean O'Donnell. Sean, thanks again for a great phone call. Some other quick things that we talked about. Bear McCreary's interview, not interview, the trailer with Bear McCreary, a trailer that Bear McCreary had music to, was something that he shared that is just stupendous. That reminded me of the Bear McCreary interview that I did, which you can also link to via the show notes inside this episode. There's also a great new short series that's all about us being Klingons, all about us being Cylons. Klingons, I guess, too. It also works.
Yeah.
But it's actually almost a documentary style of how all of us could fall into what is that new rounded out Cylon experience. And the reason we mentioned it is because it's very much portrayed like religion, which instantly made me think of you, because David has some of the greatest discussions about religion and theological stuff, and that's why I bring him onto the podcast series, is because he's got a completely different line of thinking than I do in regard to that.
Well, thank you.
Just great stuff, and again, super input from Sean O'Donnell. Sean, thanks so much. Fan feedback. Gary from Frisco writes, all right, I'll say it. Why on earth is Bill the king? Bill has always been one of my favorite characters, but episode 7, Cold Gray, left me hot. Interesting. Mm-hmm. After knowing the fate of what awaits all vampires in this in his area, Bill's savior plan is to have all the vampires silver chain themselves to beds. And hey, didn't Mrs. What's-Her-Face not get the memo? The lady that walks out into the sun? I guess she didn't.
I guess not.
Again, Southern Gentleman Bill has been a favorite for a long time, but come on, True Blood. Now, that's 2 people now that have said, come on, True Blood, about something that's going on inside the series. So it's something to definitely take a look at, and I think I share his concern. That was the plan? That was something that we talk about in other podcasts, is that was your plan?
Yeah, well, I am the really that was your plan guy, because that's usually what tears something apart for me, was the horrible fallacy of whatever the plan was in the situation.
Right.
But in this case, he makes the point of telling the sheriffs they're to get everybody out of town. Go to your areas and tell everybody to leave, and those who can't have to silver themselves in. And he orders the sheriffs to do that because he wants them in Louisiana, because he's planning this big giant raid on the witches, provided they all survive the night.
Right.
So, or the day, rather. So, yes, I see where you're coming from with this, that the silvering yourself to the bed was the plan. But at the same point, he does make the mention of get everybody out of town. Everybody has to leave, and then silver yourself down. But something else that was kind of struck me as interesting was the ghost that is inhabiting Marnie states, when I did this the last time, every vampire for 20 miles came out. Well, if you draw a 20-mile radius between a point near Shreveport, Louisiana, everybody in New Orleans is safe. Everybody in Baton Rouge is safe. Everybody in Lake Charles is safe. Everybody south of into Cajun country is safe. Most everybody living in the state of Louisiana is safe if your magic only goes out about 20 miles. So I wasn't I didn't really get the whole, I'm going to kill all the vampires everywhere with one spell thing she was thinking. But I don't think Bill's plan was that far askew.
I think it was a bit askew. And the worst part is, nothing really happened. Some fat old lady in curlers ran out into the sun.
That we had never heard of. Yeah. Meh.
Is it snowing in
There's
here?
no snow, Mike.
No snow.
No
Okay.
snow.
All right. No snow. Anyway, great input from Gary in Frisco. Gary, thanks so much. And remember to listen to the audio podcast you can listen to right now by clicking the link right above us here. And if you want to listen to the previous one from Cold Gray, Light of Civil War, whatever it was.
Cold Gray, Light of Dawn.
That one. If you want to listen to that one, that's right below us here if you're at FangbangerPodcast.com or our fanbook presence too. They're right below us.
Facebook.
Our Facebook presence.
Yes.
What did I say? Fanbook?
Fanbook.
Fanbook.
Yeah.
There's something new I could start.
Let me immediately get that.
Get right on that one.
Yeah.
Ha! Fan feedback from iTunes. Outstanding. First one from iTunes for the Fangbanger Podcast, and it is a great one. Let's see here. Knack1 writes, "This is a great show. I sit here listening to you two, and I have to say most of the time I agree with you." Bonus. Great. That we both have differing opinions every now and then makes me wonder if you are multiple personality disorder.
He agrees with us, and so does he.
I do too. Is he?
No snow.
No snow. Okay. I really liked your True Blood 101, which is an overall review of the past 3 seasons. Very, very good. 4 stars.
Thank you, sir.
And that's your call if you're listening to this video-only fan feedback input from the Fangbanger Podcast to go to iTunes and give us your input on what you think of our program via iTunes. You have everything from, I guess you could leave 1 star, or half star, I think now.
Oh, really?
I don't be leaving a half star. That's not right.
Please no.
Leave us at 4. In fact, I choose for you to leave a 5-star review.
I'm the one with the creepy stare.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the camera.
creepy star click.
Please leave a 5-star review.
I'm horrified, as are you, but you're going to give us a 5-star review.
Excellent.
That's great. Thanks again, Knack1. We look forward to more of your stuff here at the Fangbanger Podcast. Another piece of fan feedback today from Dominic11 on Twitter. He writes that True Blood is so freaking awesome. The last episode blew my mind. Best thing on TV right now. And I don't know that I can't agree with him. While I did not give the most recent episode a super favorable review, it's definitely something that I come back to every week without exception.
Absolutely.
I make time out of my schedule to either watch it live or to watch it on HBO Go, but I definitely take time out to go and watch it. So
yeah, even if I wasn't doing this podcast, it's appointment television in my house.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, guaranteed, it gets watched. We have a 9-year-old daughter, my wife Melissa and I. And so after we I DVR it, and after we put her to bed, she's a night owl like her parents. After we put her to bed, we sit down and we watch the show. Occasionally, the show will get watched twice, depending on how I feel, but it is definitely appointment television. Even if I wasn't doing this, it's a good time.
Yeah. The last thing I had was about relationships, and we've always talked about relationships that we try to grow here at Two Guys Talking. Whether it's with fan communities, the stars, the people that help to make the shows, the production designers, the prop masters, it doesn't make any difference. We love creating new relationships. And 21 years ago, today, right around this time, lunchtime, I met the girl that continues to fuel and change my world. 21 years ago, I met my wife, Gloria, inside of a cafeteria during lunchtime. And today I celebrate 21 years that we've been together. My 16th wedding anniversary was Saturday, and so thank you for making me the man I am.
Very nice.
So how about that for taking time for personal issues? So remember, you can listen to and watch the Fangbanger Podcast via iTunes. We definitely want feedback from you on iTunes. Open up your iTunes, put in Fangbanger Podcast, put in True Blood Podcast, put in Two Guys Talking, and inside of there you'll see links to go and subscribe to it. But more importantly, we want your feedback. And we're looking for honest feedback. If there's something that's missing, if there's something that you think we could add, if there are little bits that you like, Make sure that you mention those things. And also remember that anybody can send us feedback via our website at twoguystalking.com. Click the contact button in the top right-hand side of the page. Fill out the quick web form and let us know what you think.
Yep.
I'm Mike Wilkerson, the co-host of the Fangbanger Podcast.
And I'm David Crete, the host of the Fangbanger Podcast.
Thanks for watching the True Blood Transfusion on after episode 8 of season 4 of True Blood
Spellbound.
Spellbound. See you next time.